Hi everyone, welcome to Medical Microbiology. Today we will continue chapter 5. This is going to be the last lecture. We will discuss the last example of eukaryotic microorganism, which is the parasitic worms or helminths. Again, we have discussed fungi, algae, and protists. Now we will discuss the helminths or parasitic worms. Parasitic worms, it is animals. So this is under kingdom of animals. Of course, they are gonna be heterotrophic. Okay, remember again, heterotrophic mean group of organisms that have to get nutrients from other organisms, whether eating it or absorb the nutrient from other organisms. Therefore, some of them become parasite, which is harm the host. Parasitic helminth, it is under the kingdom of Animalia, so they are actually animals. Of course, they are multicellular because this is a big type of microorganism. Okay, they have organ for reproduction. Okay, they have digestive system. They able to move and have a way to protect themselves. Okay, many of them are parasite. They can stay in the tissue like under the skin or maybe in our intestine. They stay in our intestine. Many of them has a mouth part that can be used for attachment. So like a hook. So in their mouth they have hook that make them able to stay or attach in our organ like intestine. Okay. Some of them have sexual organ. Okay, so therefore some of them can be classified as male and female worms. They produce eggs, and then usually the fertilized eggs will go to the larva period inside or outside the body, the host body. There are two types of worms that can cause disease to human. The first one has a flat body. It's called the flatworms. And the second one, it has round body. Therefore, it's called the roundworms. Okay. Example of flatworm is tapeworms, like beef tapeworm or maybe pork tapeworms. Flukes, they usually can attack liver, this one, flukes. For the roundworm, there are several types, okay, like pinworm, for example. So this is example of roundworm that parasite to human. We will discuss this more in chapter 23 later. Okay, so in this chapter 5, this is just introduction of this type of helminths. Okay, again, the classification based on shape, the size, organ development, maybe sexual organs, okay, presence of hooks, sucker, okay, mode of reproductions, appearance of eggs and larvae. These are some structure or characteristic that usually used for worms identification. There are approximately about 50 species that are parasite to human. Okay, they distribute worldwide, but mostly in the tropical area. Okay, so mostly in the tropical area, they have more incidence of worm infection. They can also cause infection to animals like dog, for example. Okay, usually, okay, they can be transferred from some mode of transportation, like from the food, eating the raw food, for example, the raw meat, for example. It can also cause the infections of the worm infection, or from the soil, drinking water, okay, from the soil or from the drinking water. They can also enter into our body through this transport of mode of transport. They can also carried by insect, okay, some insect factors. There are billions of humans that are actually affected by this worm infection. This is just an example of cycle of pinworm, okay, which is the round type of worm that cause infection into human body. Like for example, this lady or this girl have infection in the skin, for example, and then it can cause self-infection. It can be transferred to her again, okay, from the site of disease, and then that worm can produce the eggs. The eggs can go maybe to the soil, for example, fertilized in the soil, and then when the kid play in the soil in the mud, it can be transferred into their bodies and then causing the infections on their body. So it can be, transferred to different type of mode, maybe from the soil, from the drinking water, from the food, okay, like raw meat, and etc. Okay, so this is just introduction of the parasitic worm. We will study them again in chapter 23 later. I think that's all for chapter 5. We will meet again in chapter 6. Goodbye.